What's good, family? This is Nigel Dunn here again to introduce the third installment of my How To Program tutorial series. If you haven't watched part 1 and 2 of this series, I implore you to go back and watch both videos in their entirety if you ever get lost at any part of this video. With no further ado, this is the third and final installment of this programming tutorial series. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for future content. So when we talk about progression, the thing to keep in mind is something that we talked about earlier, which is when you're a novice, your progression is going to be much more linear. And it's going to eventually slow down or plateau. So, and I'll get rid of this 5x5 because that's pretty self-explanatory. When I looked up some key terms for this video, I saw a lot of people talking about linear progression. And if you know what linear is, it's just a line and it should look like that, right? That is not realistic for most people. When you're a novice, like I said, it might be the case, but it might look more parabolic. So if you know what a parabola is, that like it'll look like a sideways parabola. So and what I mean by that is your progression might go really quickly at first and it'll like shoot up. Maybe I'm benching 100 and I'm trying to move up 5 pounds a week. But after I do my first workout, I could do a 10-pound jump. So as opposed to this line, I'm like, okay, now I'm up at 10 pounds, right? Let's say that's 10 pounds. Then the next week, I'm like, okay, I might be able to move up another 10 pounds again. So I'm up here. It looks like I'm going in this direction. The next week, I can only add 5 pounds. So it's tapering a little bit, but I'm still progressing. Once you start to get to a higher percentage of your actual ability and you get more experience, you'll see your progression slow down, but that's typical. And it kind of does this plateau. And for a while, it might even continue to, like, you might just hit your ceiling. Then what you want to do is you can change your rep ranges, which, like, if you're doing a 5x5, maybe you say, okay, for the next month, I'm going to do a 3x8 to build up my endurance and size. And then I'm going to come back to 5x5s the next month and see if I have increased my strength. You can play with your accessories. So maybe for your bench, you do incline for 3 months, incline barbell as your first accessory. Let's say we're gonna switch to dumbbell presses and we're gonna increase the amount of reps or maybe decrease the amount of reps so we can build up our strength and stability. And that's gonna directly translate to your bench press for your 5x5. There's so many variables that you can change in order to break through this plateau right here, which is inevitably gonna happen if you train long enough. But the great thing about it is once you break through, a lot of times you'll see it start to jump again. So it'll look like your growth will look like this, which is more realistic. There's never really a linear progression. It'll look more like this. And then once you get more experience and you become an intermediate lifter, the jumps between plateaus are gonna be a little bit smaller, but you're gonna appreciate them more because it's like solving a Rubik's Cube almost. That's progression. Linear progression is kind of like unrealistic, but that parabolic, like sideways parabolic progression where you're jumping and breaking through plateaus is pretty much what you're gonna experience as long as you're consistent. And we didn't touch on what I would suggest if you're doing a 5x5 program, how much weight should you add? And what I would suggest is something similar to Wendler's 531, which is another good program, the Jim Wendler's 531 program. But this is what you're probably gonna be able to do and what I would suggest. For your squat and just your lower body exercises, your lower body is going to be much stronger than your upper body. The muscles are bigger. You use them 24/7. As long as you're standing, you're using your legs. So you're going to be able to increase the weight a little bit more. I would increase on a week-to-week basis by 10 pounds as long as you can. If it's too difficult, you can increase by 5 pounds, but 10 pounds as a novice or intermediate lifter from week to week, you should be able to jump as long as, and this is the main criteria for going to the next weight, you have to hit all 5 sets of all 5 reps. I think I said that right. So if you hit all 5 sets, all 5 reps on every set, and you have control of the weight, it's not like your form is herky-jerky. If you have control and you hit the 5x5, increase by 10 pounds on lower body exercises. So for deadlifts, once again, you're increasing by 10 pounds. For bench and shoulder press, I would recommend, and also Wendler would recommend, that you increase by 5 pounds. So for bench press and shoulder press, 5-pound jumps. And for your accessories, I would even say you can, that translates. So for a lunge, let's say I'm doing a back-loaded weighted lunge, like a barbell lunge, right? If I'm doing 100 pounds, or let's say even just the bar, the next week I can go to, so the bar's 45 pounds, I could go to 55, and you should be able to have some control. It might be more challenging, but then you just stay there until you get your 3 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 8 or however many reps you're doing for lunges. Just like it applies to your squat, it also applies to your accessory lifts. Unless obviously you're doing a body weight motion like a plyo or core, because you're probably not going to be using weight for things like that. The bench press, same thing is applicable. +5 on your bench press for a 5x5. If you're doing incline barbell press for 3 sets of 10 and you hit all 3 sets of 10 reps, you can move up 5 pounds and you should have that control. Maybe you hit a 10, an 8, and an 8. Next week, attack it again, same weight. Once you hit all 3 10s, you move up another 5. And so on and so forth for deadlifts and shoulder presses. This is pretty comprehensive. I hope you guys were able to understand and follow along with this demonstration, and I hope you can take something from it. If you have questions, obviously you can leave them in the comment section. This is what I would suggest for an intermediate or novice lifter who's learning how to program. That concludes the video. If you're still here at this point, I really appreciate you watching the entire video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, peace.